meeting back to order, and Joe, if you could report out action in closed session.
Yes, so the board, it was motioned by trustee Makala and seconded by trustee Munoz, and approved by a vote of 4-0 with one absence, to rescind a leave that was at the employee's request, and to approve a certificated leave of absence for the 24-25 school year. No other action was taken in closed session.
Thank you so much. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, removals, additions that we need to make from staff?
I think the only removal might be the report on the Costa Rica trip, as we didn't receive any information on that one.
Okay.
So.
All right, perfect. And does the board have any other changes, modifications to the agenda? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
A second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, perfect. And then we will move on to the patriotic exercise. Or no, I'm sorry, public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any public comment on non-agenda?
There is no public comment.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the patriotic exercise.
So it's my turn to select a patriotic exercise, and I just wanted to take a moment of silence to remember and recognize all those who lost their lives this Memorial Day weekend, and the importance in that. So. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to 5 acknowledgements.
Okay, so we have a lot. So we, of course, have all of the days that are the acknowledgements for all the different school employees that are throughout the month of May that we have on our slide here. Won't read all of those to you, but that leads into our next piece. So, Scott, I don't want to...
Yes, so on behalf of the board, we wanted to prepare a proclamation in honor of Staff Appreciation Week. And I don't know if... Does everyone have it open? Do you guys have a copy of it?
Yep.
So I thought we could just go kind of around and each read a whereas.
Sure.
Do
you want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
Whereas all staff members, is this working? Oh, yeah. Whereas all staff members in the district are devoted and dedicated to delivering exceptional, engaging, equitable, and collaborative learning opportunities for all students.
Whereas our teachers and school employees serve in partnership with parents and other members of their school community to ensure the appropriate education, safety, and well-being of all children.
And whereas the important work done each day by our teachers and school employees helps prepare students to become lifelong learners and contribute as world citizens.
Whereas the impact made by our teachers and school employees extends well beyond their job titles as they serve as listeners, role models, motivators, and mentors to our students. And
Lost my place. And whereas our teachers and school employees inspire students to meet high academic standards, learn how they can contribute to society, and become the best person they can be.
And whereas we recognize and support our teachers and school employees in their collective mission to educate the children of our community in a caring, nurturing environment where they belong.
Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the members of the Fort Bragg Unified School Board, School District Board of Trustees, do hereby designate the week of May 13th through 17th, 2024 as Staff Appreciation Week in the Fort Bragg Unified School District, and urge everyone who lives and works within our district to join us in thanking our school employees for their service and commitment to public education.
the foregoing proclamation is adopted by the governing board of the Fort Bragg Unified School District of Mendocino County, State of California, at a meeting of said board held on the 9th day of May 2024.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we also have some retirement acknowledgements. So we have Miss Donna Butler, who has been with the district for more than 24 years and has most recently taught physical education at Fort Bragg High School. Will be retiring at the end of this school year. We also have Miss Ann Thomas, and Miss Thomas has been with the district for more than 10 years. I think we figured out it was 18 almost years, 16 years, 16 years.
It's a little fuzzy.
In different capacities, but most impactfully in the ESL citizenship class at the adult school. So we wish both of them well and appreciate their service to our district. Under donations, oh wow, I don't know why I missed that one. Hold on a second. Pull up that slide. The other acknowledgements from the California Department of Education, we have our screen-free week is May 6th through 12th. Mother's Day is this coming Sunday on the 12th. National Police Week is May 12th through the 18th. Harvey Milk Day is May 22nd. Memorial Day is May 27th. World No Tobacco Day is May 31st. And May is also recognized as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Jewish American Heritage Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, National Foster Care Month, and National Physical Fitness and Sports Month. And then finally, we have some donations to acknowledge. We have a $250 donation that was received from the Mendocino Presbyterian Church to support the Giving Care. Am I saying that correctly?
Danda Cuidado.
Cuidado.
Mhm.
And $381.90 was received from Round Table Pizza as a fundraising support for the Fort Bragg Middle School softball program.
All right. Moving on to item 6, communication. If any board members have received any communication since the last meeting.
I don't think anything specific to.
Gotten some invites to award ceremonies and things like that upcoming at school sites, but I haven't gotten anything else. So, okay. Okay, moving on to public comment. Let me read the disclosure. Individuals may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items during public comment and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting to Renee Holes, administrative assistant. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. A timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you do not complete your comment when the timer rings, you may leave a written comment for the board's information. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. A total of 20 minutes public comment per topic will be allowed. In exceptional circumstances, the board may consider adjusting the amount of time allowed for public comment. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or at a future time. If you require translation service, please contact Renee Holes at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. Regular meetings will be videoed and broadcasted on the FBUSD YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the board may also submit public comments prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes each, approximately 390 words. And is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Anyone in the audience, public comment? Okay. Move on to reports. First report is student representative report.
All right. For this month, from Alternative Education, they had mock interviews on April 17th. And they were very thankful to the multiple community businesses who came out to interview their students. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, which is great. Their principal and an advisor went to Burbank, California to receive the Model Community Day School Award on behalf of Lighthouse Community Day School. They are looking forward to attending Career Day at the Fort Bragg High School this Friday. And then they're planning their graduation, which will be June 5th at 5:30. For Redwood, they have their plant sale going on this week, 2:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and 11 to 5 this Saturday. They have open house on the 23rd, 5 to 6, and they have lots of planning and preparation for the upcoming school year. Their last day will be June 7th with a beach day, and the Tuesday of June 3rd to Friday, June 7th, will be all early release. They had an outstanding turnout at Literacy Night with 49% of students attending, and they want to thank Monica Lima, Leanne Berkwall, Lori Wardlaw, and Kim Myrtle for making that event happen. And then at Dana Gray, they've had lots of field trips and testing. There is a parent club meeting on the 14th at 5:30. They have open house on May 16th from 5:30 to 6:30. And then students who get their passport filled with stamps can enter their passport in a drawing for a free yearbook. Dinner will be available to purchase through the class of 2028, and there will be a book fair in the library. And then for the middle school, on May 10th, there is a theater arts performance. I believe that is also the high schools performing there. May 13th, there's a softball rally. May 14th is an open house. May 17th is a band concert, and May 31st, they have a middle school dance. And then 8th grade promotion will be June 6th. As for the high school, we just finished state testing. For the next this week and next week is AP testing. And we also have the SATs coming up in June, I believe. Our prom is going to be this Saturday at the Casper Community Center. And then we still have most of our sports going. I believe we have baseballs on their final week going to playoffs. Same with softball. And then track is for NCS. Then swimming and golf are all done. I think that wraps that up.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is the general obligation bond funds construction project update.
So not much to update other than about literally an hour ago, we got word that we are approved for by DSA to start our project at Redwood. So we get to start all over again. And we're also working with the architect to start the planning for Alted, so that we can hopefully, as soon as they wrap up at the Redwood construction, move crews over and start with the Alted. So we'll get more information on that in the by and by.
And then do you know, I know you just found out today, but they're not starting before the end of the year?
They may start doing some groundwork and things like that before the end of the year.
Okay.
So we worked with the site administration to figure out how to get the fencing in the right places so that it's not disrupting school activities and things like that. So
Wonderful. Great news. Okay. Fort Bragg Middle School campus highlights.
All right, so I'll just talk you guys through this. Is this on?
Yes.
All right, so we have our MTSS, our multi-tiered systems of support here. So we have some of our web leaders and our teachers, and they're playing on our new Foursquare. We have 3 of them on our campus right now, and the kids love it. They've been playing every day at every break on it, so that was really awesome. Our Cal Hope State Conference, we had 2 teachers, Miss Roberts and Ms. Cesario, that both went, and with Steve Holm. So they were talking about all the SEL that's going on that they've implemented at our school. Yeah. And this is currently, right now, at Headlands Coffee House, our 8th grade art. So it's going to be there, I think, for the next 2 or so weeks, so go check it out. And this is our Pacific Environmental Education Center for the 8th grade. It rained almost the whole time, right, Mr. McGee? Which was probably the biggest challenge for them, but they did so many cool things, and they're gonna do this next year in October to start the year. Our digital media 8th grade group, who have made so many amazing things, and they designed their own shirts and screen printed. And this is our FFA Ag Club. And this was the FBMS trip to Washington, D.C. Amazing trip all around. I can't really speak to it, but I wasn't there. But yeah, every kid that went had nothing but great things to say about all the museums, all the art, just the whole experience to get to go. So, and that's going to be happening again next year. And I went on this one, the 6th grade field trip on the skunk train. yeah, that was great. Beautiful day. The kids had a great time. We walked down to the train and we did the ride, and then we walked all the way back. So it was a great day on foot, and we had beautiful weather, so it went really well. Lots of fun. And the 7th grade's field trip, walking through the community, looking at all the murals. So they really enjoyed that, see what our artistic community has made, and they always love seeing their art teacher, Vice Mayor's artwork that he has up. And I think that's at the end. Okay, and that's a wrap.
Could I get your name, please?
Yes, Erin Loomis, the assistant principal at Fort Bragg Middle School.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, a report on the trip to Costa Rica. No, we're skipping that one.
Skipping that one.
Right, okay. Middle school trip to Washington, D.C.
So I'm Ryan McGee. I'm a 6th grade humanities teacher. I led the trip to Washington, D.C. along with Christopher Neller. He's a 8th grade humanities teacher at the middle school. We really appreciate Superintendent Aldridge and Renee Hall's support getting the trip started and passing it off to us. We had a really great time. We could just flick through the slides in the background, I suppose. Couldn't be more proud of our students. It was a really huge trip to travel all the way from Fort Bragg, and everybody who's traveled and flown from here knows the experience is a lot more than just flying on a plane. They were really brave. They did what they had to do. Those smiles made it even on hour 11 on the trip. So I think, I could tell you about the trip, but I think it's more powerful for our students to share their experiences. So we brought a couple students along, and they can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Blake Barbitz, and yeah, the trip was just a really amazing experience. It was really gratifying to see the capital of where I've lived my entire life, and I must say it was really hard travel, like 3 in the morning, super long, very tiring experience, but it was definitely some of the neatest architectural and especially the aviation. I really liked the Air and Space Museum that we went to. Got to see the Discovery, the Concorde, some really incredible things. I think by far my favorite thing at the exhibit was the SR-71 Blackbird. I've always had a really niche for the whole aviation system, especially military. It's always been something that I've really aspired to see.
My name is Lily Nall. I also went on this trip. It was an amazing experience to be with my friends across the nation. A few things that was very cool for me to see were the monuments. So seeing the Washington Monument and seeing all the amazing statues that have been there for so long was very cool. My favorite subject in school is history, so this was very interesting, and I heard a lot of names that I recognized, which was really cool. Like Blake said, very tiring trip. Haven't been on a plane in 7 years, so that was interesting. But the teachers made it so much fun, and just being able to hang out with my friends was amazing.
So we are planning a trip again next year, pretty much as soon as we hit the ground. From our last trip, we were organizing the next ones. We've already had, our deadline is actually tomorrow for signing up. We just extended it. We've got a fair amount of interest and quite a few students signed up. Hopefully it'll be about the same size and maybe a little bit bigger this year. So we're really excited. We're glad that our kids get an opportunity to do this. So thanks so much for inviting us. We really appreciate you guys having us out here tonight.
How many kids went?
34 kids.
From all 3 grades?
No, 8th graders.
Just 8th grade.
So American history is a component of 8th grade history curriculum, so it fits really well with those guys. And for the travel and the art, it's pretty arduous. So 8th grade, they're at that point where we can really ask them to do what's needed to travel like that. As a 6th grade teacher, I'm sure there's quite a few select 6th graders that could do it, but to present it to everybody, 8th grade is more appropriate.
Thank you so much for for supporting our kids and
You
doing
bet.
this. I know it wasn't a district-sponsored trip, but it still is lovely to hear about and know that you had the heart to do that with our kiddos. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, I want to see the rest of the pictures.
There we go. Took lots of great pictures.
How long were you there?
It was 5 days.
5 days.
And we're not going to include those travel days. We'll just keep that in mind. I guess I should voice over a little bit. I mean, the kids had the opportunity, so we're visiting historic sites, we're visiting monuments and museums, but I think another really big part of their growth was staying in the hotels together and eating together, and there's just a lot of maturity that goes along with sharing space.
How many adults?
There were, we're 41 total, I'll let you do 7 of them.
7.
Yeah, so we had 5 chaperones, 2 teachers. It was a really great team. And then, the first trip is really unique. Everything's brand new, for all of us adults too. So it was really exciting getting to share that with the kids. So we were also as peaked as they were to visit a lot of these sites. I guess we got some pictures of the zoo shop. And there's some somber places we visit in terms of memorials. We were in Arlington Cemetery, and the World War II memorial is less somber, more of a celebration versus going to the memorial for the Korean War or the Vietnam War. And the students, I thought, did an incredible job code shifting between being on a bus and being goofy with your friends, and but then being able to walk into this is us going into the African American History and Culture Museum. Another one that there were some parts of that museum that were really somber and really serious, and the kids did a really great job of reading where they were at. And then the Museum of American History was a little bit more jovial and silly, and Natural History Museum. It was as packed in as the slideshow feels like it was.
Yeah, seriously.
My feet hurt looking at it.
And were you guys able to get a tour of the Capitol and all that?
We didn't get inside. Security is significant. We worked on that to get our group in. We have a tour set for next year.
Great.
But it wasn't going to work with our timing this year. But we toured the Capitol grounds. We were out in front of the Supreme Court, and being there while our government's in function, we watched the flag go up over the Senate, so we knew that the Senate was in session. And, kids asked a lot of good questions, and I think they were taking it in. We had an incredible tour guide. He keeps popping up on the side, but he just gave us incredible background. From real quaint kind of anecdotes, and he's 5th generation in DC, so he had familial anecdotes, and then stories that I'm sure get passed around with the tour guides, and then into the greater idea of where we were going into each of our museums and sites and memorials.
You guys really did go a lot of places.
So this is the first quarter of it.
It's the first day.
and believe it or not, being outside and being in big grand environments was exciting, but even being at the National Archives and seeing the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, I thought that was pretty good. Come on, guys. In front of the White House. So the Japanese Prime Minister was in town, so access to the White House was very limited. And our tour guide, we were really impressed. He found the hour, maybe hour and a half, where access to viewing the White House was available to us. And we kept circling around, and he let us know what he was doing, and he sorted it out, and we were able to get over there and get some of these pictures. And that was really special. It was in the evening, and that's not usually when groups would go out there, as I think they closed down access right around dusk. And so we got to be there, and the kids were playing in the park, and we saw the White House get lit up and turned into the Gold House. Was that the end of the show?
I thought that might be a good place to stop.
That's a great spot. Well, thank you guys again. We really appreciate you inviting us.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, moving on to 8.6, District of Choice Interdistrict Transfer Annual Report.
So in the packet, there was the annual report. We currently have, sorry, I had this number in my mind and then So we have 45 students who are coming here from Mendocino. And so that adds to our ADA. We have, I think, about 40 or so who go
The other direction, yes.
the other direction.
It's pretty close.
With their district of choice. So it's pretty neutral. It works out well for us as neighbors, and usually similar reasons. There's some program that Mendo has that we don't, or something back and forth. Sports is a big draw for a lot of students coming here as well. So.
All right, any questions? Okay, 8.7 superintendent report.
Okay. Go through a couple of things. First off, our next safety committee meeting is coming up on Monday, May 20th at 3:30 in this room. We have confirmed that Captain O'Neill will be briefing the committee on the emergency operations plan and the agreement between us and the city of Fort Bragg. We have a committee of administrators and parent representation met to discuss an update to our dress code for students. What I've seen as far as a draft looks pretty straightforward, easy to follow, which is what we want. Doesn't call out anything that gets folks upset one way or another. So I kind of like the simplicity of it. So we'll have a draft of that. That'll be coming to you hopefully at next month's meeting for your consideration. We can always sort of do that as an information item and then bring it back later on for approval, so there's some time to comment and for folks to express any concerns that they may have with it, though I think it's actually, you guys did a great job, so thank you. As far as transportation and facilities, of course, in facilities, we're working hard, getting ready for summer projects. So looking at doing some flooring in the gym foyer and the student union here at the high school. Just they both need a little bit of attention there. Looking at classroom moves to accommodate construction. So we're trying to get our projects of moving our special education classrooms that are in portables back into the buildings at Dana Gray and the middle school. And so to do that, particularly at Dana Gray, there's a lot that has to move around. So Mrs. Alexander's done a great job of kind of creating okay, we move this one here and we move this one here. So we've got some plans for that. And then we also have to move the library at Redwood, and that's going to be, that and the office are going to be some big moving jobs. So I've actually asked our facilities to see about bringing in a moving service that can professionally just get it done and move, because our custodians have a lot that they'll be doing. So we're also finishing up the windows, so we have one more wing to do for windows at Redwood. They have the windows, everything. They're going to, on June 10th, start pulling windows out and putting the new ones in. So should be good to go with that fairly quickly into the summer. We're also starting construction at Redwood for phase 2, so that's going to be pretty disruptive to the campus at first, just because the office will be moving over to the portables that were for our preschool program in the past, and so and then that whole wing from the library all the way to the cafeteria, that area will be closed and be refurbished, and all sorts of things happening there. So we're going to figure out student pathways and entrance and exit from the campus and all that fun stuff. So a lot to do this summer there. We will also be refurbishing the Redwood kitchen. So through the kitchen infrastructure grant that Pilar has acquired for us, we'll be putting in new flooring. She's got new ovens, and just kind of doing a general update all the way through, because it needed it. I think a lot was still original in the kitchen, or is still original at this moment. We're also awaiting a response from PG&E regarding our work for the charging infrastructure. We know that the board for Mendocino College heard the easement that they need to provide for PG&E for them to start on the work. Their first reading of it was it was on Tuesday. So that's moving all along. I don't anticipate any big issues with that. So we'll get that through that process, and then it'll be on PG&E's timeline. So let's see.
The pathways at Redwoods, how long is that gonna be disruptive? Is that,
It shouldn't be hugely disruptive once we figure out the right flow for students, but sometimes we have to wait to get the students on campus to figure out what that flow should be.
so when are you expecting to get all that work done, I guess?
So it will wrap up in probably late spring next year.
Oh,
So it's going to be disruptive
Okay. yeah,
for a while.
Okay.
All that lovely work that we did on the bus loop that's why we didn't put in grass or any of that sort of thing, because we knew that they were just going to be pulling equipment on top of it and everything. So, so this time next year we'll have some beautiful new facilities. So I'm excited. In the area of fiscal, we're still waiting for the May revise. That's expected to be released by May 14th. Have just mixed reports right now about revenue at the state level, so I'm just gonna go on with life, assuming that we'll know on May 14th a little bit more. I see one report says things are great, another report says not great. We're doing good here in Fort Bragg, so that's all I'm worried about right now. I'm excited to announce that we have been awarded a community schools grant, implementation grant from CDE. So thank you to Kristen, also helped a lot with gathering information and writing there. And thank you to Renee for helping to coordinate and get all the information in the right place at the right time. And thank you to Wendy for working the numbers and figuring out, because there is a 1-to-3 or 3-to-1 match on this, so we have to provide a third of that. It's already on stuff that we're spending, so it wasn't any big stretch for us. We're awaiting the final award letter, but we know that it's at least $3.6 million. In the state board packet, they actually had it listed as $6 million. So if they want to give us additional amounts, we'll absolutely figure out how to work that. We have 5 years to expend the funds, and they're also currently doing some extension grants. If there's money available, we may be able to extend it for a couple more years at the end. The things that we wrote into the grant currently are family liaisons for each school site for 5 years, so that's pretty powerful that we'll have that level of support. That we will be able to refurbish the JD Center into its intended purpose as a community center. And if for some reason we get into that and figure out that it's going to be too much, I have a plan B, so we'll see about that if we have to go there. We will also be able to provide some psychiatric services to our students in need. So what I wrote in was to buy a couple of days a month of a psychiatrist's time. Probably would be via telepsych delivery, but still that's giving our students quicker access than the 6-month timeline that I've heard that parents have had to wait for out there. So I'll just have to find the service. I've seen advertisements for them, so I think we're in good shape there. And then we'll also be able to continue our mindfulness through martial arts program for that time period is built in there as well. And then there's a coordinator written into the grant as well that will be paid out of those funds to coordinate all this so that it doesn't fall on our principals and it doesn't fall in our office as much. I mean, I'm sure we'll have parts of it, but this will require the kind of attention that a dedicated employee will be needed. So. As far as advocacy, I had the opportunity to meet with Assemblymember Wood and separately with a staff member from Senator McGuire's office. We asked about supporting full funding for schools. They said you should feel very lucky that it seems like schools won't undergo any cuts at this point. I didn't say anything about any additional monies, but I said no cuts. I'm happy with that. We asked for support for a facilities bond to get onto the ballot for school facilities. There's some other competing interests that are there, so it'll be interesting to see what that final bond measure kind of looks like. But the reality is we are eligible for the TK facility grant that we applied for a couple of years ago. However, they refuse to fund it. They keep not funding it in each budget cycle. So, obviously we need some bond funds so that would backfill some of that need as well. So we might actually already be beneficiaries if we do get that bond approved. And then we also asked they reject the governor's proposal regarding emergency closures. An independent study, he was basically saying after 5 days that we needed to provide support if we have emergency closures, that we need to provide some kind of online schooling for kids. And I said, we went in and we said, well, in our counties, if our students can't make it to school, our teachers probably can't make it to school either. So I don't know how they would get into the school, and then there's no infrastructure to provide any kind of online schooling. Believe me, if we can open schools, we will. We will get kids back as soon as we can, because we know the value that school plays in the community in these situations. So I think they heard us on that. I know certainly Assembly Member Wood had not heard or really thought about that, the implications of that. So he was seemed very fired up to make sure that did not make it through in the budget. So. And here's a picture of us accepting after we accepted the Model CDS award for Lighthouse. So again, congratulations, Gary and Kristen, for your work on that. And it was fun to be down in Burbank for a little while. And then yesterday we had Walk and Roll to School Day. So if you're on Wall Street around a little after 8, then you would have seen the fun that was all our kiddos enjoying, getting a police escort as they were riding down the middle of the road. It's pretty great. I don't know that anybody counted, but I would estimate that we had at least 100 kiddos participating, and probably almost as many adults as we had kids, because parents wanted to be a part. So it was a really fun event. We had lovely support from our police department, and we thank the Star Center as well for allowing us to kind of cluster there to start with. So we will have another day like this in October. The Wellness Committee is currently planning. So I think we had a few lessons from this one, so we'll know how better to be prepared next time. And then finally, I just had some upcoming events to note. I started adding the list, and the font got smaller and smaller. So there's a lot coming up. We heard some of it in the student report, so thank you. And let's see, I think, did you mention student exhibitions at Alted were May 28th through the 31st, so that week. So if you have some time, you might check in, and we'll see if we can get you plugged in. If some students prefer not to have outside folks, but some welcome them. So, and then the other thing. So feel free to reference back to the slide. I know that I will, because my life is a little chaotic for the next 3 weeks. So, and thank you to all our staff who are doing all this for our students and making all this happen this time of year. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of hours that get put into that. So, and that concludes my report.
All right. Any questions for Joe on anything? Okay. Anything from California Schools Employee Association?
Yes, we have Martha's.
Great.
Good evening. Martha Lopez, Chapter 487, CSEA. We're very excited this year because every year we have the opportunity to give a scholarship, and it's a $500. Last year, one of the requirements is that the student needs to be the son or the daughter of CSEA classified employee. And the other one is that they need to be enrolled in the fall, and they're planning to attend either a trade school or college. So last year we didn't have anybody that wanted, we had applicants, but nobody wanted to attend in the fall. And this year we had 3 applicants, and we were very torn about okay, we only had $500, so the unit voted that we were going to give each student $500. So we were very excited to do that. So they told me I cannot say the names yet. So, but we will be there on May 21st. So, and also we're getting ready for negotiations, so exciting times are coming. I was very excited to receive a notification from our North Bay field office saying that they were going to give me an award for a service award for my work with the unit. So I was very happy. I had the opportunity to go to Napa and interact with other chapter presidents and to see other bus drivers, custodians, staff. It was very exciting to connect with all of them. So, yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, 8.9, Fort Bragg District Teachers Association. No?
We have any report?
Okay. Okay, moving on to approval of agenda consent items. Do we have anything that anyone wants to pull? Discuss?
Did the CBO, I didn't go back and check, it got in there? Okay, all right. So the consent items include the warrants, the minutes, personal action reports, contracts, budget to actuals, and obsolete materials.
Okay, is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
There is no public comment.
Okay, if there are no questions of the board, if I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the agenda consent items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to item 10.1, school plan for student achievement for Redwood Elementary. Yes, and if anyone need a break, and if you need to go, of course, by all means, you're welcome to stay.
I do have work in a couple
All right.
minutes.
Thank you, Lillian.
Have a great time at the prom. Thank you.
So for the SPSA for Redwood, unfortunately, Ms. Erickson had a medical need and can't be here this evening. So I'm going to do my best to present. So if there are any questions, we can certainly forward them to Mrs. Erickson. So they have their 3 goals, follow our 3 LCAP goals. So career and college readiness is the first goal. Within that, they are looking at implementing AVID school-wide strategies. So they're looking at some of those. I think that they want to kind of start with some professional development and figuring out what they can do for teachers kind of through staff meetings next year to make sure how those AVID strategies align with kind of what they already have going on. They're going to make sure to invite some guest speakers in person or virtually to showcase some positive college and career examples. And they're going to continue maintaining college and career digital portfolios. So we'll keep working on that. They did say that with doing it once a month, it kind of got to be a lot. So they're trying to make a big deal once per trimester and then feature career and college each month on those days, but kind of make the bigger fanfare 3 times a year instead of having it every month. So that sounds very appropriate for our littles who it can be a lot. It can be a little overwhelming for kiddos though on those days. So on goal two, we have student achievement. I think you've heard a lot about how they've been working on that, so that's really encapsulated here. They're really looking at their iReady data for math and reading, their English language or their English learner progress data, and then the DIBELS, which is the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. I've always got to look at that one.
It's a long one.
It's basically an assessment that goes into all the phonological awareness and all the pieces that are what are needed to have an effective reading skill. So it's a time-tested. It's been around probably a long, long time. I mean, as long as I've been in education at least. And is a very valid test. So I think we've been getting better results out of this than we were our ORs that we were doing in the past. So all in all, they're going to continue with professional development for staff and supporting the Tier 2 interventions. And they're continuing on the course. They've got some pretty good structures in place, and they're going to continue to support this. You'll see a lot of this echoed later in our LCAP conversation as well. And goal 3 with the school climate and culture, They were looking at some suspension rate, chronic absenteeism, and some of their Swiss data that they get. That's a school-wide information system about different discipline reports and whatnot. And so chronic absenteeism still rose to the top because their chronic absenteeism rate for last year was still at 49.2%. So that's pretty high number there. So they're really looking at how they can work with families, really keep bringing parents in, getting them comfortable with the environment, and hopefully promoting some additional understanding of the importance of attendance and those, all the data that supports how our kindergartners, how you attend in kindergarten has a impact on your entire school career. And really, they can make some correlations between poor attendance in kindergarten and a hard time graduating once they get to the high school level. So, and they're going to continue their restorative practices in PBIS. So, any questions about that?
Any questions? Do you mind just taking a second and explaining, because we're going to hear these for every
Oh,
site,
for sure.
kind of what they are and why? Yeah.
So we have, there's federal law that says that we have to complete the school plan for student achievement if we receive the title fund. So Title I, which is for students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Title II, which is for improving teacher quality. And Title III, which is for our English learners. And we received Title IV, but sweep it in, right? So Title IV is innovation in schools. But it usually gets swept into the other categories because it's so very similar in how you can use those. So this just outlines how the schools are planning to use those funds, but more broadly, it's a plan for how they're going to support student achievement at the site level, and really becomes sort of the mini LCAP that they complete at their sites.
Okay, great. Is there any public comment on this school plan?
There is no public comment.
Okay. Are there any other, no questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the school plan for student achievement 2024-25 for Redwood Elementary.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, 10.2, the school plan for Dana Gray.
All of my notes are on my desk in my office, so I'll be flying from the hip, but I feel pretty confident about my presentation this evening. Mainly because a lot of the things that Redwood is doing, Dana Gray is doing as well, because we work in tandem pretty well. So we are also, I'm taking a team to the Avid Summer Institute with our district leader, Kelly. So I'm excited, and I think what's going to be great are the conversations we're going to be having there about the one Avid strategy that we're going to be making sure we're not going to do too much too quickly. One thing that we can commit to so that we can do it well. The staff is also going to be taking on our new social emotional learning curriculum, Wayfinder, next year, and possibly a new science curriculum. So there's a lot happening at Dana Gray as far as newness. So I think choosing one really strong Avid strategy to commit to is going to be really great for our group. We also are using the same kind of the DIBELS assessment data, as well as the core phonics data that gets even a little more deeply into the phonics skills of the students at Dana Gray. And I agree that with the statement that Mr. Aldridge said, which was that we're getting really great data in order to know where we can support them, how to group the kids. This year we used the HuFly, which is the University of Florida Literary Institute, and their curriculum has been instrumental in third grade. The third grade team took it on as their core curriculum, with also adding in our benchmark here and there. But the need for phonics instruction was so great in third grade, it was a little overwhelming. So we scooped off some of the students who were already pretty terrific readers, and then that left fewer kids in each of the in the classrooms, so they could do some small group instruction with their classroom. And the growth that we've seen on our iReady diagnostics is pretty good. So we're feeling really proud about that. As far as career and college kind of goals, our counselor, Ms. Molson, has been doing a really good job kind of weaving in talks about careers and what do you want to be when you grow up, kind of conversations in her lessons she's been doing in the Wellness Center. And the calmness that comes across students as they enter the chill village has been really wonderful. There have been a lot of engaging, even the Wiggly students have these neat little stools that they sit and they can literally spin as they listen. So we're giving lots of kids a different way to interact with the Wellness Center. And then also talking about, you know, where they want to grow after. You know, they keep saying, that's just too far away, we can't talk about that right now. And then Ms. Molson does a really great job in having them start talking about and thinking about what their path will be as an adult. I think the biggest, there are some concerns, don't get me wrong, we definitely have areas of growth, but I was actually encouraged by the chronic absenteeism data that came over on the dashboard, that even though we definitely have some work to do, the numbers for our chronically absent kids decreased overall, which made me happy. And the PBIS team is going to be taking on different kind of attendance data initiatives, which is a wonderful direction for them. And I know that we're meeting as an ADCO group to talk about a district-wide positive attendance focus. But the PBIS team has all sorts of really fun ways to engage kids and really give, instead of paying so much attention to the kids who aren't in school, giving props to the kids and parents who are there a lot. So we have all sorts of ideas flowing out there. Graphing daily attendance in classrooms and linking it into math, having a competition between grade levels with a big thermometer that will be in the hallway, working that into our monthly awards assemblies for grade levels who've improved their attendance, and with the really important caveat that we're not shooting for 100%. We want kids to stay home when they're sick. We just want to improve it. So, and the other part is we're going to be putting it on our marquee about our goal of attendance, and then having that be updated weekly on how we're doing toward that as a school. I think I remembered everything. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Sounds good.
Any questions?
Okay, groovy. Thank you
Any
so much.
public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the plan for Dana Gray.
Move to approve the school plan for student achievement 2024-25 Dana Gray Elementary.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right. Moving on to 10.43, school plan for student achievement for the middle school.
Hi, Erin Loomis again, Assistant Principal at Fort Bragg Middle School. Laura Vieira couldn't be here tonight, our principal, so she gave me all of her notes. I'll do my best. Mostly everything is staying the same. We have our same goals. Our first goal, increase career and college readiness. Fort Bragg Middle School will increase students enrolled in CT courses, algebra, Spanish courses by 2% annually and complete each course with a grade of C or better. And goal 2, increase student academic achievement. So we see a link with our iReady scores and our CAPS scores. So we saw that language arts CAS scores from 2023 show that overall 39% of our students are at or above grade level, and with the iReady benchmark, it showed that 32% were at or above grade level. And with our CASP math scores, it showed 13% of our students are at or above grade level, and the iReady math was at 14%. So a pretty good indicator for us. So we are expecting to increase student scores in our CASP and language arts. And our third goal, improve student culture. So our 2024 California Healthy Kids surveys show an improvement in our students' mental health from the previous year's survey. We expect to see improved results on the California Healthy Kids survey compared to the previous years because we're implementing new social emotional curriculum, Wayfinder, to support our students. And we also expect continued support of Thrive Counseling, which demonstrates improved outcomes for students. We did see that we have a significant increase in office referrals from this year, and the data shows that was based on a lot of new teachers and long-term subs that we had that showed the higher rate versus our veteran teachers. So we're working to strengthen PBI strategies and restorative practices, and we expect to see a decrease of office referrals with the behavior supports. And we do have a highlight for the board. So we have our new section of a double block class for our newcomer students. So newcomers will spend first and second period with the same teacher receiving ELD instruction and language arts. And that's all I have for you guys. Any questions? Okay.
How long for the newcomer class, is that all semester or is that just for?
I believe it's for the school year,
Okay.
but if that's different, I will send an email and let you
That's
know.
okay.
Yeah.
It's for as long as the student needs, so it could be
Okay.
a semester or it could be a year. I would say probably no longer than a year in most cases, but it's
That's
based
great.
on student need, so.
Thanks, Joe. Thank
That's
you.
great. Any other questions? No? Any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the plan for the middle school.
I'll move to approve the school plan for student achievement 24-25 for the Fort Bragg Middle School.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right, 10.4, school plan for the Fort Bragg High School.
Good evening, everyone. It's Bruce Triplett, Principal of Fort Bragg High School. I'll go through the same thing. We looked at the LCAP and all the surveys, and a lot of ours, some of the ones that did change are kind of addressing some of the things that parents and staff and students wanted. So there wasn't major changes. So the first one with college and career readiness, one of the big things we're doing is trying to auto-sign students up when they for the A through G courses. The main ones at the high school are Algebra 2, Chemistry, and then the foreign language. So we're going to automatically enroll. If the kid passes geometry, they're going to automatically go into Algebra 2. And in order to get out of that, they have to opt out. There has to be a meeting with the parent, because I think sometimes parents don't understand when they take them out of those courses the significance. And whether or not they go to college, it's fine, but they're closing a door, and it doesn't need to be closed. So we're going to hope maybe that will improve our numbers. I think some of the things with our CTE courses, I think we've improved our CT numbers, but I think it also might have taken away from our A through G numbers. But those can go hand in hand. They don't have to decrease just because you're in the CTE pathway. And I think the more we can get our students to understand that and the parents to understand, I think definitely will improve our A through G numbers at the high school. And another thing we're going to do is, have students work on a roadmap. That was one of the things that we saw throughout the LCAP is I think there's some confusion with parents and students, like what are the classes that I need to be A through G eligible. So I think we're just going to create some, we have those things on our webpage, but just more clear for parents and students so they understand where they are, what classes they need. We're also, for our foreign language next year, we're going to see how it works. We had 50 kids sign up for it. We'll see what happens in the fall. But they get opportunity to go, it's online, but they get to choose the language they want to. So it could be anywhere from Mandarin, Japanese, French, or even sign language. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. Logistically, it could be a nightmare having everybody in the same classroom, but it could be a good opportunity for them to, opportunity more than just our Spanish that we offer on campus. So those are the biggest at the college and career readiness changes we're making for next year. As for increasing student achievement, one thing we tried this year is just trying to reward students to do their best on the test, because it really doesn't impact them. So one of the things we tried this year is no phones. I think some students, once they're off with the test, they can get on their phone and they're looking through it, and so there was no phones. And we encouraged them to, before testing, we're going to the library, we're going to pick a book, and when we get done, there's no opportunity to use your phone. So here's the book or something. And we're hoping that made a difference. We had incentives. Our cafeteria made muffins and cookies for students, so it's always nice to have a little snack. So we're hoping that some of those things and other incentives we're going to try to implement next year will improve our numbers. Let me see what else we had. And I think the same thing with the middle school, adding the ELD extra support for our students will be a great support for the students when they take it, because they're a subgroup that has a hard time when they're trying to learn the language, and it's sometimes I think it's unfair that they're taking the same test and they're just trying to learn the language, but it is what we have to work with. So I think with having more support for them, I think it's going to be beneficial. And lastly, on school culture, one of the things that we're trying to do is, we kind of went away from it. We did it a while back, but just monthly at our staff meeting, just postcards we can send home to parents and students, so they, just have something tangible they see. I mean, we do parent squares, but I think it's more personal to have a little letter sent home, a little postcard, and I think it means a lot. So I think we're going to go back to that. We tried it, and we went away from it through COVID, and we're going to get back and do it again, because I think it's important. Restorative practices. We're going to continue with that. I think, our folks want some more training, so we're going to offer some more training. I think our committees this year have been successful in hopefully curbing some behavior, excuse me. And we're, working on those to improve, the literature that students read. If, like, say they made a mistake at school and said something inappropriate, they meet with the committee, they do research, and it's going to benefit. We don't suspend them. They're going to have to research an article and then present something in front of a committee, so they take more ownership of the behavior that happens. So I think that's going to help. And Creative Saturday Schools, one of the things that we saw in the LCAP was students want maybe some more support for with scholarship writing and things like that. So we're going to offer it, Saturday Schools, and not for a punishment, but if you want more support, there's a student there or a teacher there that will support you through your writing and things like that. So we're going to try it. I think it has some great potential. And lastly, advisory, seeing the things that students want to learn or want to experience. We're going to try to switch up some advisory and have opportunity where maybe the teacher had a skill that students didn't know about, so they get an opportunity to showcase their talent in a different format. So we're going to try that, and of course stick with all the other things, the prom and all those things that we do currently. So we're excited. Any questions for me?
Any questions? I like the roadmap idea, though, for students, because I have a junior right now. It's still confusing,
right?
And what the effect is if he doesn't take this or he takes that, or what's the implication down the road. And it's so hard to, counselors are so busy.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get sometimes the details that you need. So yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Great to have that. All right, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Public comment. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the student achievement plan for high school.
I move to approve the school plan for the student achievement 2024-2025 for the Fort Bragg High School.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, next item, 10.5, is the school plan for 3 schools, the alternative education campuses.
Good evening, everybody. Kristen Larson-Ballier, Principal of Alternative Ed. I have 3 different plans, so I'll go pretty briefly through. Feel free to ask questions if you have any. In writing these plans, we consulted the district LCAP, our dashboard data, and because our numbers are so small, we don't see a lot in dashboard data, so then we delve pretty deeply into our local data. Common to all 3 schools, our school site council this year is back in place, and we had really solid attendance with staff, students, and parents who met regularly, so that was really great. We wrote individual plans for all 3 alt ed schools for greater clarity of goals and purpose, and then all schools continue with big picture learning, restorative practices, and interest-based learning. So, Shelter Cove highlights. I condensed the goals a bit for brevity, but goal 1 is improve and maintain positive attendance at 85% or greater. They're doing well with their attendance in Shelter Cove. Goal 2 is increase student achievement, particularly in the area of literacy. And number 3 is to reduce suspensions by 5% annually until the rate is less than 10%. So around those things, the positive attendance, our counselor has begun doing some attendance incentives, and they're really motivating the kids. It's been a lot of fun. She videos herself and she draws. She takes a look at who had perfect attendance for the week and who had improved attendance for the week. And so they're getting little prizes. She had written a grant for that, and we're going to go ahead and continue that. In terms of increasing the student literacy achievement, we are getting training for the staff in iReady, and so that we can more specifically measure their reading levels and identify who needs additional support and address that specifically. And then with regard to the suspensions, that's really working hard. We have of course, our restorative practices, explicitly teaching, what our expectations are, and really just our big picture learning, really trying to keep everybody interested and engaged. So I would say new things in that area would be very specifically targeted literacy instruction we're working on, and continuing with the attendance incentives. Lighthouse Community Day School, similar goals, decrease suspensions by 5% annually. That program had a pretty high percentage of suspensions this year. Improve average attendance to 85%, and earn at least 20 credits per trimester. So I should have named those goals 1, 2, and 3. So 1 was decrease suspensions, 2 was improve average attendance, and 3 was earn at least 20 credits. That credit number we have raised, it was previously 15, but mathematically it is important that they get 20 in order to meet graduation requirements. Things that we're looking forward to in supporting those goals include the addition of a dual enrollment class on campus. We're very excited about working with Mendocino College on that, and they're going to bring a college and career readiness class. We're looking at maybe making that a graduation requirement. That's under conversation, but we think if the kids have exposure to it, they may be interested in doing it when they thought they weren't. If once they get in there and see that college is doable and accessible, I think that'll be great. Targeted literacy instruction for Lighthouse as well, just a little bit more regular measuring of how they're doing and making sure that we also have an MTSS in place and that we're doing some specific interventions for students who need them. And then those attendance incentives. And then Noyo High School, goal number 1, improve attendance by 5% annually, improve graduation rate by 5% annually, and then maintain a suspension rate of under 6%. So they had a really low suspension rate this year in Noyo, and we were really very excited about that. The fact that they are more mature group, I think is helpful in terms of behavior. So Things we're looking at in Noyo High School specifically, increasing the number and quality of internships. The majority of our kids do internships, and we're just looking at making sure that everybody's having those opportunities and that the quality of that is really high. Actually, for all 3 schools, continuation of our experts on campus, particularly in our makerspace. So we have a professional artist, and we have kind of a design specialist who works with our kids. And then, of course, the attendance incentives, the continued big picture learning, and interest-based, project-based learning. And that is that. Any questions?
Any questions? No? No? So do we need to approve these individually or just as a group?
I think it's a group.
As a group. Okay, is there any public comment before we do that?
There is no public comment.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the school plans for all the alternate alt-ed campuses.
I'll move to approve the school plan for student achievement 2024-25 for alternative education campuses.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, thank you all very much. Feel free to stay for your entertainment or not. Item 10.6, California Interscholastic Federation designation of representative to league.
So this is a fairly routine matter that we just have to do each year to make sure that our CIF designations are accurate moving in, because a lot of this work starts over the summer. I'm sorry, CIF is California Interscholastic Federation, so heads up all our sports.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Any public comment?
No, there is no public comment.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve California Interscholastic Federation 24-25 representatives to league.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 10.7, Mendocino Lake County Adult and Career Education Requirements.
All right, with Gary Lewis starting as our alt-ed principal, he will be a voting member, hopefully, of the Mendocino Lake Adult and Career Education, so the MLACE consortium that's out there. So it has to be board approved for him to be a voting member on that board. I sit as an alternate for him as well. So.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions of the candidate? No one wants to drill Gary for anything? Okay. Is there any public comment?
There is no public
All right,
comment.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the Mendocino Lake County Adult and Career Education Requirements.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 10.8, teacher consent form.
So we have a teacher who is teaching math but has a teaching credential in another area. He has enough units to, under this ed code, to be able to, with his consent, qualify for a local assignment option for teaching math at the 8th grade level. So he will finish out the remainder of this school year. And then we will have a return from leave, and I believe we have a good candidate for a math position as well. So, exciting.
It's very exciting. Any questions? No? Is there any public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the teacher consent form.
I move to approve the teacher consent form.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, item 10.9, out-of-state conference attendance request.
All right, Gary, do you want to speak to this? So, I mean, you're a lot more expert on it. I can.
Yes.
So, I think one of the things that we really like about being part of the Big Picture Network is there's a lot of opportunity for us to get together with other schools and share ideas. And this year for the annual Big Bang Conference, they've asked me to present a workshop at the conference, looking into bringing student voice into school leadership stuff. So they saw what we've been doing with the leadership group at our site, and they want us to share that out with others. So, unfortunately, we still have to pay to go. It's a reduced fee for presenters. And so, I'm just asking for approval. It's a little bit funky on the form because we're looking at a couple of different funding sources. I need to get the registration figured out, and then the rest we can take care of later when we get through to the new fiscal year and we've got some additional funds. Just hoping that I can have the opportunity to go and spend a few days with other big picture leaders from around the world.
All right, are there any questions? Okay, is there any public comment?
No, there is no public comment.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the out-of-state conference attendance request.
I'll move to approve the out-of-state conference attendance request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right, item 10.10, classified management salary schedule update.
Right.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
So our, we put on the current and the proposed schedule so you can kind of see. On our current schedule, we have a no degree or certification for each of the classified management. What we're proposing to do is to just remove the no certification, as we currently have folks serving in those capacities that are all have certification. We also will have our new incoming CBO does have the CBO certification, so it would fall under that category as well. So it just kind of simplifies it a little bit and streamlines based off of where we are right now. So.
You don't ever see a need to have a no degree?
What's that?
Do you ever see the need in the future to have a no certification for these positions?
I think that would be something that we would add only if it would end up being person dependent, which is not the way I really like setting policy. I think we would always strive to have folks who had certifications in these areas to be able to do this. So.
All right, any other questions?
And these are comparable to other districts our size in the area.
Yep, thank you.
Perfect.
Looked at several that were comparable.
Okay. And so the amounts aren't changing, just
Right.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't change the amount anyone is making on any of these schedules. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the schedule update.
I move to approve the schedule update.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, so moving on. Is everyone okay? Anyone need a break? Everybody okay? Okay. So moving on to 11.1, the LCAP first read.
Okay, so I provided you with a lot of documentation in last week's update, and there's even more. I updated it and realized I added another, 8 pages of content by the time I put in. Most of that was the feedback from that you've seen in bits and pieces, kind of in past updates and meetings that we've had. So from the surveys and from the different things. We're nearing completion. We're kind of, Wendy and I have been working together trying to get things in there and understand the, new templates. So there's a couple of new things that we had to do, and then realizing that they've done some slick things in document tracking service that they hadn't had in the past, where when you put a number in one place, it actually reflects the same in all the other places on other forms and things. So It's nice to see that we don't have to continue to enter things multiple times, because then sometimes you get the little errors with a keystroke or something. On the following slides, I've summarized the goals and actions that we have in place. Our current budget numbers in the document are not yet final, as we don't even know if we're getting any COLA or anything like that next year, any of those things. So anything that you see there is really a carryover. So they'll see some actions that obviously will have a cost, that don't have a cost associated with it just yet, that kind of thing. And the document will continue to be updated and modified, so there'll be more to come as we move through, though the goals and actions are kind of the meat of the document itself. So under goal 1, with increasing college and career readiness, as you heard, we're continuing career portfolios and some AVID strategies, college trips. We're continuing with our college and career specialists, because that's been a wonderfully successful position. And fortunately, that position has been able to support the entire district. So I think they have support at each site for maybe not as robust as what's at our high schools, but still there's contact and support there. So that's been an amazing position. We see a lot in our feedback and throughout that folks really appreciate our dual enrollment opportunities. Our students are asking for expansion with that. I don't know how far we can expand, but it'd be lovely to be able to support them. What Mr. Triplett didn't mention with the language options is that we could possibly also support some students who are doing maybe an online college class, and that could be the time that they dedicate to do that during that day. So we'll have a staff member who's assigned to support that particular classroom. So thinking about some creative options to where maybe we can't necessarily offer the complete course here, but we can have an adult who can be there to support a student as they're moving through some of the online classes that we know. Sometimes you just need that outside accountability to stay on track with. We're also looking at ways of increasing our capacity to monitor data, and that's really going to come with Aries Analytics. So we're continuing to tweak that and find ways to get the data displayed, but the ones that we have dialed in are amazing. You can pull up and see at any particular school what's our chronic absenteeism rate on any particular day, or there's just there's so many amazing things that we can do with it. We've just touched the surface, but you know, if we can get teachers putting, like at the high school level, putting their assessments in here, we can actually pull up by question, by student, and we can see demographics of the students who answered and how that was affected, how many students answered correctly on which questions. I mean, it gets really granular on the detail, so it's pretty cool that way. So I'm looking forward to being able to kind of dial that information in that way. In our goal 2, in increasing student academic achievement, looking at academic intervention programs. So we've been supporting intervention in our English language arts side of things, particularly with reading. One of the things that I've talked with our principals about is around increasing some math intervention, as we have our teachers are feeling like the tools that we have in place for them are really kind of doing a really good job helping with some of the reading side of things. So we need to start making some of that progress forward with math. So we're continuing to fund our Anchor Academy and credit recovery programs for our high school students. So Anchor next year we'll get back to full staffing so that we can have everybody, all our students who need that support, have that opportunity. We'll also have our support for our Alt-Ed. Want to continue the good things that they've been doing there and moving forward that way. They're going to continue their emphasis on big picture learning. It's kind of nice to be able to write it into a plan where it's not like it's new, it's established and it's just going to continue. So it's kind of a celebration there for sure. We want to continue our expanded instructional staff. So we have the instructional assistants and specialized coaches, our academic coaches, to help improve student learning environments. And our professional development with Kelly Smith and some of the other pieces that some of our teachers are attending for restorative practices and other pieces. We're going to continue to have support for that in our LCAP as well. Continuing goal 2, we've talked a lot about the Newcomer Academy, so you've heard that a couple times tonight. We're also going to start planning. We were planning the dual language immersion. We were hoping to have a pilot program for this next year. Just got to a point where we ran out of time with it, and so we want to take a more thoughtful approach and make sure it's a little more structured. And I've brought some other partners kind of in to help support that work and keep it moving next year so that we have a really good program we start in 25-26. We continue to have our expanded learning opportunities. So we have our ELOP, our Kudos, our Assets programs. They're all doing great. Actually got some statistics from them. We have about 80 students per day are participating in the Assets program here at the high school on average. So it's really good. And all of our other, we have about 280 students who are enrolled across the other 3 sites for our Kudos programs. So I think they're being successful, and I know we're already getting requests, so I would expect those numbers to increase next year as folks kind of get used to that being the new norm. And so we're looking at some different ways that we can maybe fold some of the sports folks in there, so we're making sure all of our student athletes get a snack and maybe, something before they go out to practice in case, if their parent can't make it or something like that, or they just don't have that support, that they can get that through the after-school programming. And then finally, we're looking at inclusive classrooms. So we're really looking at starting having our students with disabilities educated with their peers in the regular environment. And so next year we've had our preschool students have all had that. So that's just the expectation that those students have as they move into TK and into kindergarten. So next year for TK and kindergarten, our classrooms will be, our students will be fully included. Right now that means it's only, I think, 5 students, but still that's a good place to start, and we keep building that expectation as we move forward. We do have some nervousness with some of the staff around just, I think it's mostly around the language that we're using, because there's some new vocabulary in this. I keep reassuring them, I've been in TK classrooms, they do all of these things already that support these students. We'll have ample support for the special education side of things in there as well. So I'm excited to see that roll out, but I know that there'll be jitters until we have the students in the classroom say, oh, I got this. I know they do, and I keep trying to reassure them of that, but it'll take some time. And goal 3, in improving our school culture, we have, of course, we hear resoundingly about our bilingual family liaisons. So we're excited with the community schools grant to be able to expand out. I don't know if we're going to be able to hire all of them as bilingual or not. It's going to be bilingual preferred, but I'm trying to be a realist and say I don't know if we have 5 people who qualify for both bilingual and this. I hope that we do, but I also realize that I don't want to look over someone who doesn't have bilingual skills who might be excellent in all the other areas, and we might be able to figure out ways to accommodate there. We're going to continue our behavioral supports with restorative practices, the positive behavior interventions and supports, social emotional learning, and building a more supportive and accountable school community. We are also going to enhance mental health supports. So we will have, of course, continuing our additional, each site having their counselor, having our additional counseling that we have through Thrive. We have both supplemental and concentration, and we have some other funding sources that will be able to fund that, so that hopefully we can continue that up until, basically we think it'll be another year or 2 until Medi-Cal actually provides the reimbursement for students who don't have IEPs for mental health services. They keep saying it'll be next year, we'll see. But I think we have enough money to continue to support that until that reimbursement kicks in, and then that'll drop our costs significantly as they can bill for the time they're spending with students there. We are going to continue our equity and engagement initiatives. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to continue our equity focused professional development. Our leaders will get out next year and actually be doing that work directly with their staff on site with coaching and support from the team that we've worked with this year. I'm just really looking forward to the opportunity for our the inclusivity up and down our campuses. I think everything that we're building towards is just that we're a learning community where every kid gets what they need, and that's, with your support, is amazing. That's what we want to see. Continuing goal 3, we do have parent communication and education, so that's both Parent Square, but we're also really looking at we got a lot of good feedback from parents about what they would like to see as far as topics for parent education nights. So figuring out with our cadre of family liaisons how we can use their talents to offer some of those nights throughout the year, and make sure that we are offering them in bilingual capacity in some way. There's some different ways that we can look at that. But also making sure that as a part of that we're providing some food for our families, because often evening time is when they need to eat. And then also a big thing that resonated there was also childcare, so that the parents can actually focus on the message. And I even want to take that a step further, and as a part of the childcare, have some sort of programming that relates to kind of what the parents are learning. So that the students have some message that they're walking out with too, and maybe that spurs a conversation a little bit later where they can have that connection about the learning that they all have. We are offering our homeschool transportation and school attendance review teams. We have seen some significant gains in our drop in our chronic absenteeism rate this year. I know we still have a few weeks of school left, so I don't want to celebrate too early just yet, but I'm hoping that we have had at least a solid 10%. I'm thinking it'll be more than that, but I think I can say with a fair amount of certainty, even if our seniors don't show up, that we're sitting at about at least 10% lower than we were last year. I think it's more likely around 16%, but I don't want to celebrate too early just yet. So, and finally, safety. We did hear some comments throughout the LCAP feedback process just about making sure that students are safe at school. And there weren't any specific instances where they were saying they didn't feel students were safe, but they were just, it's a big topic on people's minds, and making sure that we have safety out there. So want to make sure that we're conducting our safety drills in coordination with our city, and also looking at hiring a school resource officer. And formerly we paid for a school resource officer with our tobacco use prevention education. That was really restrictive. It really, so I think moving this over where it's a supplemental in concentration, we get some more flexibility, and we would be a part of the process in selecting who the officer was to make sure it's a good fit for our district, and there's some clear expectations there. In addition to those big goals, we also have to add a goal because of the equity multiplier funds that we get for our alternative education campuses this year. It's $150,000 that we'll get. So they just require a focus goal, and so the focus goal that they would like to work for is to decrease chronic absenteeism, because that's ultimately, if the students aren't there, we can't engage them. When the students are there, I don't think we're having any big issues with keeping them engaged. So that's sort of, once they've gone through their process, that's what they arrived at. And then I also think with this community schools grant that we should investigate having a goal that focuses on community engagement. So I'm kind of thinking as the school culture being kind of the internal and the community engagement being the external, so I might move some of those things around as that goal develops. It's not going to be hugely different actions, but I think it just speaks to kind of an internal versus an external way that we're approaching things. So I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, we're starting to stretch. The third goal there just a little bit to be encompassing, and I'm like, well, we're really pushing out into the community and trying to do some of those things, so call those out maybe a little differently. So our next steps are to continue to add information and refine our goals and actions, get approval from the District English Learner Advisory Committee, so the DLAC. There was a meeting, it was just school staff, so we decided that we probably need to reschedule that one and make sure we have some parents there. Want to present the final document at the June 13th board meeting. There'll still be time for some input there, but it should be the nice polished version at that point. And then I'm sure I'll continue to pore over it and find any typos or those types of things. So on June 20th, the final document can be approved. We will also include on the June 20th approval the annual update and the local indicator self-reflection. So those are two separate documents that you'll see in addition to the LCAP at that point. They're both versions that you've seen. The annual update was actually included as a part of the LCAP last year. This year they break it out because it's the end of the old LCAP and the start of a new cycle. So I think somebody likes to justify their job writing forms at the state. Anyway, it's kind of, it'll all look very familiar. It's in formats that you're familiar with. So I don't anticipate there being any learning curves with that too much there. So, any questions about the process?
Local indicator self-reflection, what is that?
Oh, so in our school, thank you for the question. In the school dashboard, there are some local indicators. So it's about, do we have a viable curriculum? You know, just some things that are not well defined by data. It's more experiential, and you know, so I come with the ADCO team, and we kind of look at it and make sure that we're doing all those things. We are doing all those things, and so we just report and say, yes, we're doing these things. It's an odd thing on the indicators there. I would rather be able to report things that have an impact on students' lives that we're doing. I think that would be more impactful, but that's just my own 2 cents. So.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions. And you guys probably talked about this at that meeting I missed, but under the college and career specialist, that said something about appointment of specialists to guide the students. Is that those liaisons?
Oh, I mean, that's just, sorry, I should have prefaced this with, I had AI help me with this. So I think that was probably one of the words that AI added in. It's just the college and career specialist.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then on that last one, the community engagement, would that include hiring someone to oversee that kind of thing, like Leaving to Learn and community service and all that sort of thing?
Yes, so the community schools grant does include money for a coordinator. I think I forgot to put that on the slide as well.
Oh, great.
So there will be someone who gets to oversee that end of everything and making sure that we're in good shape there.
And this last thing was just, I said this once before, that when we do these parent education nights, do we film them and then put the video on the websites for parents that can't come?
We've talked about it. We haven't done it yet.
That'd
So
be nice.
that would be something that would be a really.
I know so many people can't
Mhm.
make it for one reason or another. It'd be nice to be able to access those.
Yep, so that's certainly something we've discussed and I think would be a great idea. So just trying to figure out, we probably will have to buy some equipment to make that happen in a easy format.
I know somebody who knows how to film stuff.
Yeah, so to say we can ask about
It's not always
what might be a good product for that, but I've seen some pretty cool things out there.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Other questions? So I had a couple questions about the measuring and reporting results. For metric 1, you know, you have a lot of these. I assume you only put the goal for year 3, year 1, year 2. You just, once the years are done, you put what happened.
Right. So.
And so I guess my question is, some of these goals, you know, 1.1 increase of 5% of students who are prepared. Again, I'm on page 13, just looking at the CCI dashboard. I want to make sure whatever goals we put in there are reachable, but not like, that are.
Right, it's finding that sweet
like
spot.
Really, like,
right.
You know, challenging, like reachable. Like, I don't want to just, some of these are like 5 every year, some of them are just 5% total.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one I'm looking for that said, so 2.3 on page 20, the LPAC scores. It says FBSD will have more than 50% of English learners making progress towards proficiency. Why wouldn't that be 100%? Like, don't we want all students to make progress?
We do. I just don't know with this particular indicator if we will get to a point where we can have because it comes down to their, it doesn't take into account any scores that they make on, in school. It's all about that LPAC and how they actually did their score move from last year to this year. And I don't know that that's always the best assessment of everything that a student's doing. We can certainly increase that. I haven't run this by my site leaders yet either. So these were ones that I was like, okay, that's at least
Just put it in there.
a point for discussion.
Yeah,
So
and I guess, so as you meet with them and finalize it, I would just ask that you really look at that
yes, we
whole
will.
column for all three and read it.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things that right now is just out of my brain,
Right.
Has not been vetted through everyone, so I'll own that completely in the draft form here. So
Yeah, other than that, there's some exciting stuff in here.
yes, excited about the plan.
Is the community engagement, would that include like an internship program for, because then there's been talk about trying to do more internships with high schoolers or?
Not yet.
Okay.
But if we do get awarded the additional funds, I think we have a lot of latitude in what we can that's an additional about $500,000 a year that hasn't been budgeted or anything yet. So that would give us, we can do a lot with that, I think. So, but I'd love to look at that opportunity for our high school students, and I'm really trying to get the steam behind it to use next year as a planning year to really think about that now that we kind of have ethnic studies behind us, or not behind us, but we have some
Well, on its way.
well on its way there, and so we'll have some more energy at the admin level to look at some of those things.
Because if we're paying for a coordinator for the grant, you'd think there would be some, maybe, I don't know how much coordination it takes, but maybe there'd be some time to help coordinate an intern, some sort of internship.
They very well might be able to, yeah. So,
Well, and the CTEG grant really is asking every CTE program to have internships, so, yeah, we should be doing that.
Okay, so this will come back to us at our next meeting
it will.
in a more finalized, and is there a public hearing on it?
So the first is, yes, a public hearing with, I think it's a public hearing, right, for the first meeting? Yes. With comments and that kind of thing. Then it goes out, it's on our website at that point in draft form, and folks can send comments in all the way up to the second meeting where it gets approved. So I'm sure I'll continue to make, like I say, typos and all of those things, being a 95-page document right now.
It's a lot.
There's a lot going on there. So
And I think for me, to that point, having a marketing background, is there any way to create some sort of one sheet highlights of the new LCAP?
yes, yeah, we will.
Or something so people can.
We will absolutely do that once we kind of get everything finalized, so we can point in the right direction in the goals and actions and those kind of things.
Specific document called something for parents.
The budget overview for
Budget
parents.
over.
Parents, it's like a 2-page thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, it has some of those. I don't know. We'll see how it looks. It's looked differently from year to year in DTS. Sometimes it's been really attractive, and sometimes it's been kind of not. So we'll see how it prints out this year. If not, we can work something up. So. And then also attached to this item, I forgot to mention in our board docs, I thought I did. I don't see it now. I will upload, I had a summary of our goals and actions, and I had it in Spanish as well, so that we could make sure parents can access that if they're interested in where we're going with the LCAP. So I'll make sure that gets out there.
Do you, in all the meetings you had for the LCAP, do you keep a record of who attended?
Yes, so we have sign-in sheets for.
Because it may be nice to reach back out to them with the draft and be like, here, thanks for attending. Here's the draft. Let us know if you have any comments. I'd love to get it back to the students somehow, but I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
I know.
Especially this time of year.
I know.
Their attention's not so much on.
Yeah.
Next year
definitely
just
not.
yet.
We've been there, done that. We're done. We don't want to see it again. Okay.
So.
Any other comments on the LCAP? No. All right. 11.2 Ethnic Studies Pilot Curriculum First Read.
All right, so our Ethnic Studies Curriculum Committee has met, I think we started in November, so until now, and have really done some really great work. I would I think that this product that they've come out with is a really nice kind of scope and sequence and resource document kind of all rolled into one. The sample lessons that you see there are an example of where we would go. They're state sample lessons, so some of them are not the greatest, and we know that. We also know the area that really is not well represented here right now is the Native American Studies. But we also know there's a project that is being coordinated out of Humboldt County Office of Ed that will be a very comprehensive Native American Studies that includes our area. And we thought that work is probably going to be a lot better than anything that our limited committee could do. So we're staying in touch with those folks. I've even put out, they're doing this summer an institute up at Cal Poly Humboldt that is reviewing these lessons that they've started with, just to make sure they're friendly for teachers to use and are appropriate in the levels that they're working on. It's a 2-day institute up there, so we're trying to encourage folks to go up and have a voice in that as well.
That's great.
But otherwise, there's some really great lessons that are here. We also found a really great resource that has ethnic studies lessons for free, basically from kindergarten all the way through. So as we move through next year, the committee is really hoping to give teachers resources if they find an opportunity to kind of include all the stories that represent all of our students that are in the classroom in whatever's going on, and they're age appropriate. It's really nice. Like the early elementary are very friendly and just tell the stories of some of the different ethnicities that make our state such a great place to be and our country such a great place to be. So it's really encouraging that way. As you can see with the model curriculum, it kind of steps through, if you look at the unit titles, kind of gives you an idea that we start with an intro to ethnic studies and just kind of what a narrative is. Move into identity, colonization, systems of power and oppression, and then power movements and transformation and change. And so this would take place within our 10th grade English class because there'll be a lot of reading and writing involved. We thought it matches the standards pretty well there. And will be just a semester-long course that students will take. So we will, the lovely part with this is it doesn't add, we don't have to add anything within our master schedule, because adding a semester-long course into a master schedule when you don't have another semester-long course to attach to it is really tricky for, looking at Kathy, because I know that she's had to tackle things like that in the past. It's not impossible, but it creates some challenges all into itself. It also gives the opportunity next year for us to pilot this in that format. If we come back and say, you know what, that really didn't work, then we can pivot before it becomes a requirement in the 25-26 school year. So we have some time to do that. The committee will continue to meet and is very passionate about continuing to meet next year to make sure to support the teachers who are teaching and be a resource for them so that they're not feeling all alone in that work. So,
Is there a group within the county to support each other too? Like, is there a blog or a?
I wish.
Okay.
I wish. I'm a little envious of Lake County because they got together and, as a whole county, built a curriculum that was very specific to Lake County, and we didn't have that happen in Mendocino County. So I'm hoping that we'll see some of that, because I'd love to be able to see some of the resources that I know exist in our different communities out there. But
Just imagine that the delivery is going to be very important on who's delivering it.
Yes.
And it could get dicey.
It
And
very well
so
could.
I'm glad to hear that we have a local support, but I also think it would be nice if there was a bigger pool for the people going through the same thing, because
For sure. And
it's going to be a different learning curve.
I'll mention that to my other superintendents. I'm meeting with them tomorrow, so I think that's a good seed to kind of plant with them to say, hey, we need this community of practice group that's talking about this and the challenges.
And I appreciate that we are trying to do it ahead of time so that we're not that it'll be a good program eventually.
Yes.
I'm sure there'll be some bumps in the road, but, and I do, I know somebody reached out with questions about, I would like to really encourage that local piece too. So hopefully the Humboldt County resources will really come through fruition and they can be implemented, because it'll mean more to our kids if we're learning about where they grew up.
And the lessons that we will continue to pay folks who are, we have a little bit of implementation funds to be able to pay them this summer to really dive in and build some lessons. So the sample lessons are sort of okay, they're not bad, but they're not really localized. It's just statewide or even some of them are nationwide. So they'll continue to refine and develop that. So this will be a living document for probably quite a few years into this as we find other resources and build it out and find what's effective with students, because, you know, often it looks great on paper and then you get to implementation and it has to change, so.
Well, it'll be like history. I mean, it'll have to change with current events too.
As we see new things, so.
That's
So
the fun part about it.
is it what is it displacing in 10th grade English? Or is it?
It's just modifying a little bit some of the standards to be a little bit more on the humanities side than just strictly in English. But I think all in all it aligns pretty well. That's why we kind of landed there. We also feel like 10th grade is sort of a place where they're also in history or learning about world events, so they can sort of tie in a way that they're, it becomes more global, I think, through the grade level. We thought about 9th grade, but we really thought, looking at schedules and things like that 9th grade is really packed already. And there's a lot of value that we feel like our students are getting out of the freshman seminar, and it would have to just displace some part of that. And we thought that's not really in line with the goals that we have for our students. And 10th grade just felt like the best place for it, as far as the alignment across the grade level of what they're taking.
So is that mention really needs to be deleted though, that the thing on the very top, because that threw me when I started reading this, because it says Unit 0 in freshman seminar.
Oh, yes,
So
we need the,
okay.
we did borrow some of this from some places, so.
Okay, so it's just 10th grade for us.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because on page 5 it says 9th grade elective.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little, I was like, wait a minute, I thought.
Well, thank you. We'll clean some of those things up.
Yeah, it's a draft.
Like I say, we did borrow some of this, and
Is there any way to infuse any of this into Alt Ed's curriculum? I know with big picture that makes it tricky, but.
yes, we will be providing this to them as well. What I found late in the process, also the site I was mentioning is called Liberated Ethnic Studies curriculum, and it is just some of the really smart people in ethnic studies, out of their own passion, got together, so they're completely built out PowerPoints, and you know, all the resources are already there for teachers, lesson plans, everything, so they can go in and actually, and some of the resources we have here reference that, but we didn't find it until like our next to the last meeting for the committee. So we were like, well, if I had found this 6 months ago, I'd have been in a much better position. But as it were, that is going to be a really great resource for accessing many different, giving more access points to the same content for our students. So it would be very appropriate in alternative ed as well. So.
Any other questions? So I guess I question, so we're really looking at the first 4 pages, right?
Yes.
The rest of the model curriculum is just a reference guide. So I've never done this. I've never had the pleasure of doing this before. This is my first curriculum development document that I've looked at. So it's like broken up, right? So you have the ethnic studies content, and then you have CCSS, and then ELD. Like, can you just quickly explain the breakout?
Sure. So the top part is really the meat of it. So the ethnic studies content down into where you see the model curriculum sample lessons across there. As we get into like CCS literacy skills, so that's the Common Core State Standards. These are the standards that are addressed just in single word
Got it.
descriptors. It's not
Mhm.
the full standards.
Mhm.
So that you can kind of get an idea of what we're actually working toward in this. So it's not just, well, here's a bunch of lessons with no particular
It's within
objective.
an overall system of.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then with the significant number of students who are in English language development, we thought it was also important, being in an English class, to include English language development standards.
Mhm.
And so those are linked and crosswalked as well. And then also the history and social science content standards that are addressed. So you kind of see that it's a multidiscipline approach to this. So. And then, like I say, for reference, there was that whole model curriculum that's attached, so you can see the state's done a lot of really good support in outlining kind of where to go and whatnot. But we had an amazing committee, had teachers, parents, administrators, students. Our students got a little busy in the spring, so didn't get as much representation from them, but we were still in communication. They were on the same, so they got to see the product and weigh in if they had any feedback on it. So
And what kind of training do the teachers get for this?
there's just not a lot out there.
Yeah.
To be
So
honest.
are they just, and I apologize for the other simple, they're just given this new
So
curriculum and then?
The fortunate part is the teachers who will be teaching it were part of the curriculum committee, so they were
That's great.
helping to develop it
Okay.
along the way. So I think this first iteration, we're in good shape. And I've continued to say, anytime I see anything that supports their development in this, I make sure that that I send it to them and reassure them we've got money for implementation for this, so there's already funds available. We can send them to professional development or support them in that. So I think they're taking that very seriously and looking at all the opportunities that are out there.
Because I think of all the great guest speakers they could have come in.
Yep, they're
locally.
already starting a
Oh my
list of
gosh.
thinking, oh gosh, we
Yeah.
could invite,
So much.
That's awesome.
That's great. Okay, thank you for that background. Okay, so what's the process in this? This comes back as well?
So this will be on display in our district office as a new curriculum, so to speak. It's
Mhm.
not,
It's not an adoption.
and we'll have that on display until our next board meeting.
And is this what you display, or is there
Yes.
something simpler that people can understand?
It- It's pretty much going to be this, because this is the.
Flashy books.
There's no two-page thing.
No,
budget
we
thing
actually
like
looked at ways to break it down, and we took it from a few other districts' recommendations that ended up being 16 or 20 pages long, and I said, no, we need something that's a little more to the point that folks can understand. This is about as simple as we could get all of the information we felt like needed to be there.
So just a couple suggestions, if I may, because I think it's a big topic, is make sure, I don't know if you want to use Parent Square or whatever, but it'd be nice to announce that it's available. And then wherever you display it, with online, if the committee members are willing to have their emails, so if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to any of them.
Yeah, we can get some feedback for sure. I think an online form would be great, and then obviously if they're coming into the office, we can get their information and reach out if I'm not available, or our staff isn't.
Yeah, I think it's good for our, it just makes us look like we're trying to
Absolutely.
do good things, you know?
And this has been somewhat controversial in some other places, so.
Okay.
I think our community is pretty open to the concepts, but I've heard some stories. So we want to be completely transparent in that.
So then this will come back again, so it'll be displayed and then it'll come back in June. Is there a public hearing on this as well?
Not necessarily, it would
No?
just be an adoption at that point.
Great.
So.
Great.
I'm really excited to see how this plays out. I wish I was in 10th grade.
I know that was a question, like, do you have, I guess there's no opportunity for juniors and seniors next year to be a part of this
Not
at
how
all?
we're currently, but we have talked about the idea of adding. I just don't know with the two large groups of students that we have back to back, that we have a lot of wiggle room right now in the schedule, so it's just kind of this.
Advisory, if they're gonna revamp for advisory.
Yes, yeah, so that might be where we can work some of these pieces in, but we also talked about ways of providing for like the history department. Here's a lot of lessons that tie into standards that you already teach, so that you can get at least a flavor of that as our students move through. So.
Because even like the fishing and lumber, I mean, there's so much history that they could be, like, I'm
There's-
thinking of like guest speakers again, I'm not thinking
For
of
sure.
like, curriculum
Yeah,
per se,
it's-
but so much that they could learn that I wish I knew.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's some amazing things that we can do, and I think that will then lead into, as we're looking at the internships, because you build some of those relationships and connections, and so kind of see it all coming together in a really neat way. So,
Well, please thank the committee for all their hard work,
Absolutely.
if you would.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to 11.3, the Board of Trustees revised governance calendar. So at the agenda setting, Renee mentioned she had a draft ready and what she should do with it, and I suggested, well, let's just throw it on information discussion for first time, so we have a chance to look at it. There's no rush with this. I know that we talked about revamping our current calendar, so it was a little more user-friendly. And so this is truly just an opportunity to look at what they put together, and I don't know, Joe, if you have anything to present about it or go over it, or.
No, it's more about, I think the content is pretty similar to what it's been on our previous calendars. It's just presented in a way that it's a little more, you can look down the column of a month and see what would typically be expected that month in the different areas. So this was one thing that I was asked during one of our workshops to kind of look at this format, and so this is what that kind of works out to be. So thank you, Renee, for your work on
Yeah, thank you.
getting that in place. So,
A comment without getting into the specifics of it is the job areas. It'd be nice to tie those into whatever LCAP goal, because I know on Monday we were talking about trying to tie everything on the agenda into those goals.
And I wonder if it's not easier to tie in on our agenda and actually list the LCAP goal that's addressed by an individual agenda item. I don't know if, I worry about this getting really, really busy.
Yeah, okay.
And not being user-friendly at that point where we can't just go, oh, it's August, let's see.
Right, yeah.
So,
Got it. So I don't know if you have any comments, if you want to, all just want to take time to make comments, look through it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to
Okay.
really study it, so.
Do we hold, this is student learning and achievement, is there a section designated to English learners? Or is that something we don't?
I don't know
Report
that
on?
I think it would fall generally within student learning and achievement.
Okay.
There is a spot in there for DLAC report, ELAC information and things like that. I think it's in the fall or towards the end of, so it's to the right on the calendar perhaps.
Yeah, October it looks
Yeah,
like.
it got moved to next month because the parents were unable to attend this,
Yes.
because usually it happens in May.
Yeah, this time it's different.
Yeah. But that's really fun to hear from the committee.
And there's definitely things in here that are CSBA related,
Yes.
like Masters in Governance, and so, yeah, I think it'd be really good for us to all take our, pencils to this and maybe talk about it again at the next meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's pretty comprehensive right now, and it may not be, you may not want everything that's in there. So-
Is there a way to, this is not a Google, it's just a PDF, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Just in terms of logistics, if the board has feedback as a group or individually, that would be easier, either one-on-one or through email or whatever. If the board would like to have edit abilities, I can certainly do that.
Well, if we all started editing, it'd be really interesting.
It'll lose its format real quick.
Yeah. Like, what?
It's at the board's pleasure for your own use, so.
We're happy to print out a copy
It's
if you
your
want to
document.
do the
Yes.
highlight and say, I don't know, that's,
Whatever you
Renee's
want.
very used to that from me. going through, still married to paper, sorry.
It's okay. It's very helpful.
Well, I think if it's okay with the board, I'm happy to take in comments and make edits. I mean, not to the document itself, I don't want those capabilities, but kind of take all the comments and compile them for you. If that's okay, I'm just offering that up.
But we should talk about those, right? At next.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, but
'Cause
that
I'd
way,
hate to
this will
say, like-
become, right now, it's kind of a hybrid between CSBA and us,
Right.
Correct.
and so the next one should be us.
Okay.
comparing to
see.
what we have now. I know we generally don't have meetings in July. We were talking about Monday about maybe we should have a meeting in July. It's a great opportunity to plan for the next school year for us, so, okay. Well, thanks again for
It's okay.
getting us going on this. It's great.
CSBA has a wonderful template.
Okay, so moving on to 12.1 board reports. Start?
I attended Literacy Night last week at Redwood Elementary School. I was one of the welcoming stations for both parents and students, and it was really fun to get to see their little faces and let them know about the passport and go to all of the different stations. And since Redwood is my site, I also got to attend the Redwood School opening on Friday, and Mrs. Erickson introduced me to the school. That was kind of funny. The Latino Coalition had a silent auction at the Larry Spring Commons on Friday, and I was there having my city hat and my school board hat. And a lot of the parents already knew me because, I grew up here. So that was really fun to see the next generation there. And I'm attending Career Day tomorrow here at the high school. I'll be doing session 2 and 3.
I'll just do my shout out. I'm trying to keep it brief and not the laundry list of things, but I just want to give kudos to Joe for the safety committee work we've been doing. I know we've gave it some lip service for a while, but it's really taken off, and he's done a lot of work with that, and so I'm happy to see that that's moving forward. And
Thank you. Yeah.
and I attended that meeting, or have been attending that meeting with Scott.
Yeah, safety meeting, same. I'll be also a Career Day. I don't know if I know which sessions I'm doing yet. But, I'll be there at 9:30.
You should.
Yeah. Well, I printed something out, so I have something at home, but I'll just show up at 9:30 and they'll tell me wherever I need to go. Just looking forward to all the happenings at the end of the year. Yeah.
I have only done one thing. Really two things in one. I went to the middle school book fair. Diane and I went, and then we went into the mindful martial arts and observed, and that was really fun to see. Well, it's always fun to see kids, but it was very cool how they're very serious about it. They get in their circle, there's the adults, but the kids are mixed in, and they're all doing their warm-up and then getting into the different things. It was really, really awesome to see.
Great. And the folks from the mindfulness through martial arts will be presenting a report at our June 13th
Oh, great.
meeting. I asked them to kind of, because it was a pilot, so to bring back to you kind of, and so they were looking at some different things, but they're really hoping to be able to bring some specific anecdotes and provide maybe some videos that you could watch. I don't know if we can put them out I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know if we can put them in a public format or not, but certainly something that we can provide to you as the board so that you have that feedback and information, so.
Yeah, it was fun to see.
So should we all bring our martial arts clothes and we're going to do a little training?
They were all dressed
I
in
don't know.
normal, regular clothes. Exercise wear.
Okay, advanced planning. So I know at Monday we talked about doing a July session on LCAP.
Yes.
So
We can work on getting that
and
facilitated.
it was before the end of,
Towards the end of
towards
July.
the end of July, middle, second or third week, because towards the end is,
I knew someone was not gonna be able to make it at the end of, right?
Yeah, it's the 31st of July that I'll be here.
I'm gone
Oh,
the
okay.
10th through the 21st.
10th to the 21st, and you're going,
I'll be gone that first week, so like the first through the 8th.
so then after,
You're
between
pretty
the
well
21st and the
did it.
30th,
Yeah.
we'll try and get something going.
Yeah.
Okay,
That gives us some specifics. We can do that.
okay. At least now we have a time frame. I don't know if there's any other special meetings or anything that we need to schedule. I know we have 2 meetings in June, and lots of stuff going on. No. Okay. So housekeeping also on, I guess it was Monday, we talked about going to the open houses and having a table. And so I know Diana reached out to the middle school, I've reached out to Dana Gray, to have a table and 2 chairs, and so I'm hoping that we can get 2 board members at each open house. I just wanted to take a minute to maybe schedule that. So obviously, the first one is May 14th at the middle school. Diana will be there.
I could do that one.
Okay, you want to do that with, okay.
I can't do the 16th.
The 16th, I'll be at Dana Gray, so if someone could join me there. And the idea is to go about a half hour before it starts, so you're there as people come. We don't have to stay there, I mean, we'll just kind of feel out how long we should stay, or, you know, one of us can walk around and go into some of the rooms while everyone stays at the table, whatever it might be.
I'm out of town that day.
I can try, we're waiting for a UCSF appointment, so, but I will tentatively, I'll let you guys know if I can.
Okay. And then the 23rd is Redwood.
I'll be there.
Okay. So if anyone can join.
So we want to be there at 5, right, at Dana Gray?
Yeah. 23rd is a
Thursday.
Thursday.
And that one's at 5, so that's at 4:30.
4:30.
I can do that with you too.
Okay. And let me know if either one, if something comes up, and I can take your place.
Okay. Thank you.
And then.
So then Crystal and Mary are doing Redwood?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then I don't see any.
I'm sure Diana's gonna wanna, well, the high school awards night, so do
Right.
we wanna do it that night?
In the gym?
Well, or out front of the gym, or I don't think we wanna be in the gym.
Yeah, we could do, maybe outside.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll email Bruce
And I'm going to that anyway, so I can do that.
With that one, I see the FFA, what day is that one? Fort Bragg High
15th.
School's not a scholarship.
15th is the awards night.
That was before. Okay, again, if that, I'm not going to San Francisco, I
Okay.
will, I'll get it organized. So that's at 5:30.
Okay, but you'll contact Bruce?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
do all that part.
Perfect.
And ask for a table and.
Okay, the next thing I wanted to go over is staff appreciation week, so we usually do something for all the staff. I did order nuts. I have 400 little bags.
You're letting the secret out.
Sorry.
Everybody's
Well,
watching.
I didn't know when we were supposed to talk about it.
Don't laugh,
Sorry.
Wendy.
2 people are watching.
3.
3. And one may be our upcoming new, well, we'll see.
And one's Wendy's husband. Oh. Okay.
So I guess is there anyone, we need to drop them off the morning of at each site?
And that's next Friday?
Yeah. So when do we usually not talk about this? When do we usually talk about this?
It's done via email.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Totally
Okay.
fine.
So I'll just send an email then.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
That's okay. I was
we're
just
gonna
joking
pick
about
them
the
up
letting the
from
secret
you,
out.
or what are we doing?
I guess we have to communicate via email.
Okay.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. Okay. Anything else on the calendar? Three Rivers School Board meeting. Crystal, are you available to go?
Which one, what day is that?
The 21st at 5:30.
That's the scholarship night too, though.
Are you going to that, Joe?
I'm going to the scholarship night, so
So am I.
Okay. So, what day of the week is the 20th? I should know this. Is that a
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
that's a Tuesday.
Where is that meeting?
At Three Rivers.
At 3 Rivers over next to the college.
The college.
Although they often offer it virtually.
You can,
so-
yes, you can. They're still doing that, or at least they did last month.
Mhm.
So if you can't, I can do it virtually.
Okay,
Yeah?
yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Well, this,
I might go, but at least I'll do it virtually. And I know May 21st is at middle school parents something,
I think it's the parents club meeting, so it's
parents club.
Oh, there's Ag Day, that's good.
And then Dana Gray Parents Club. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. And then everyone knows graduation week So I don't know if these times are right, because someone said graduation, Lillian said graduation was 5:30 for one of them. So you'll just.
I
as
think
it
that's
gets-
No-Yo's a little later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think No-Yo's.
Yeah, the other ones I
starts
think are
maybe
at 5. I think that one's later.
Okay. So, Noyo 8th grade promotion,
That's a new one.
that's a new one. So is that,
No, it's all going to be, I think there was some confusion when the form was put in, that they put it in for, 2 dates, because they're doing the first day for setup, they're doing everything as one ceremony
on the 5th?
on the 5th. yes.
Okay. Okay, and you'll, as it gets closer, send us a schedule. Perfect. And then the next summer school starts. It's great. We didn't really get a report, but I assume
Everything's good.
hunky-dory.
Yep, we've
I
got
don't know where that
enrollments
phrase
are,
comes from.
are happening right now, so.
Okay. And the next meeting is June 13th. And who's the agenda setting team?
Kathy?
Is it?
Yep.
I wish I do wish those agenda, Google invites were for the person that is supposed to go.
Gotcha.
That would be helpful.
We can do that.
So which one is that? That's the one on the 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. Can I add myself to it? No.
But you're also the next one because it's Scott. So you're both of June's, both of you.
Okay. All right, I'll deal with all unfortunately, my youngest son has made high school rodeo state finals in rifle. And that's happening then, and I don't really know anything. And then my other son is graduating from WyoTech that month too, but I'll
So
just
if
work
you
with
can't,
Scott.
yeah, because the first one's you and the
That one
second
I
one's
can-
me.
Yeah,
So-
but it's me.
If you need me to go to one of those, I can.
Okay, it would be the 10th, but I'll know more next week. Next
Okay.
week's a big week for us.
And we may be able to discuss both agendas
That one's,
At the
yeah.
same-
at the same
That's
time.
true. The 3rd I'm good.
Okay,
third
so
is-
maybe on the 3rd we'll try and do both.
Yeah, because the agenda for the 20th is a pretty prescriptive, do this, do this, do this.
Okay. And that's the budget.
That's the budget and
And the LCAP.
And the
Yeah.
And then
And
the
then-
order that it goes in is very specified and all
Okay.
that kind of thing, so.
And then do we look at the budget on the 13th as well, or no?
Mhm.
We do.
Public hearing for both.
Public hearing for both.
1 week, and then anytime after that, the
Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
For a second.
I'll second.
All right.